And thank you so very much for being with us here on WLTX Plus. As the polls closed about 30 minutes ago, some people standing in line still had the opportunity to vote before poll workers started counting those ballots. We don't have any numbers for you just yet, but we are working on getting them as soon as they are released. Megan Dowksha, she has been covering Columbia for us throughout the day, specifically the race for Columbia mayor. She is joining us. She'll be joining us in just a moment. I'm being told they're having some technical issues. So let's go to Jamin Wade. He is in Orangeburg County tonight. Let's find out what he is working on. Jamin, I know there are a lot of races up for grabs there. What's going on?
Ellery Elementary School, where there were a lot of people that turned out. I spoke to one of the election officials inside who told me that there was over 185. She gave me that number around 6:15, so that we saw a few more people coming in before 7 o'clock. So I know that number rose a little bit. But she told me that's about 39% of voters in this area. I'm also focusing on some of the other key races, including town council here in Ellery and in Holly Hill. Out here in Ellery, we have District 1 seat open with Tasha Gidron and Tanya Weaver vying for that seat. And in Holly Hill, we have 2 council seats open. District 3, where Tiffany Kaysen, Charlita Hayward King, and Cotty Hunt are on the ballot. And for District 4, we have Cynthia Fuller, who is running unopposed. In all, there are 14 local elections happening across Orangeburg County. At 11 o'clock, I'll be bringing you some of the results for some of these races. We have a lot of races here in Orangeburg, so be sure to stick with us throughout the night for those results. But for now, I'm going to send it back to you, JR.
All right, just waiting on my microphone. There we go. Jamin, let me ask you a question before you go real quick. Tell me about those technical issues that you were hearing about in Orangeburg County today. What can you tell our viewers? Are you still there,
Yeah, I
Jamin?
spoke to the director of voter registration. Yes, I am. Hey, JR, you hear me? I spoke to the director of voter registration here in Orangeburg County, who told me that they did have technical issues. That was around 5 o'clock today. And so she did also tell me that they were able to get those technical issues worked out pretty quickly here in Orangeburg County. Now, I don't know exactly what polling sites that was at. I'm here at the Ellery Elementary School, which is the only polling site in the town of Ellery. But like I told you just a second ago, there are 14 local election races with other towns having multiple polling sites. So I don't know exactly where those were, but I do know that they were fixed quickly.
And we don't know if any of these technical issues prevented anybody from voting, do we?
No, she told me that these technical issues were fixed so quickly that they were able to get anybody that was in line waiting at these polling sites right in and out the door. Now, here at Ellery, there wasn't a line for most of the night that I was here. Actually, most people were able to get in and get out within 4 or 5 minutes. I was able to speak to some of those people as they came out who told me that they decided to vote today because they really wanted their voices heard and their opinions matter, and they wish that everybody in this town understood that.
All right, Jamin Wade from Orangeburg County, thank you so very much. Let's go to Lexington County now. Kiki Gushu was there with the latest on voter turnout there.
With elections all around the country today, right here in Lexington, in the town of Lexington, voters were really excited to come out here and cast their ballot for town council. Here in the town of Lexington, voters are casting their ballot for town council. There are 3 seats and 5 people running. The 5 men running include incumbents Todd Carnes, Ron Williams, and Gavin Smith, and 2 political newcomers, Greg Brewer and Doug Leonard. In Chapin, 2 candidates are running for mayor after the incumbent Al Kuhn passed away. Ron Colley and Bill Mitchell Jr. are vying to be mayor. In Batesburg-Leesville, it's Greg Mosley, Larry McConaughey, David Botnight, and Steve Kane. Voters and campaigners here in the town of Lexington were really excited today and passionate about coming to cast their vote. We don't have the full results yet, but we will have those coming up at 11. In Lexington, Kiki Gushu, News 19, WLTX.
Kiki, thank you. A short time ago, our Christy Calcagno had a chance to speak with a professor from Benedict College who breaks down what to expect now that the polls are closed.
And we are back here, Mr. Jones. Come on, guys. I told you he's going to be back. He is back now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yeah. So we have actually seen a lot of people, like we talked about, they are coming back in there to the polls, kind of towards as everybody is ending work so far. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about these elections. Wrap up really quickly. Why is it so important for people that they came out to have their voice heard?
I think it's most important that people understand the votes that took place today and during early voting will impact them at their kitchen table.
Yes.
When you open your door, you will see that difference in terms of what is being done with the newly elected officials.
So let's talk about the decisions that were made at the local level. Like, how do they kind of affect us all before Washington does?
So you look at things like local taxes that could be levied against us. You look at growth and development. You look at the Scout plant, for example, that is, I mean, it looks like an airport out there, but you look at projects like that. You look at policing and public safety. These are issues that impact you immediately. Sidewalks, bus stops, expansion or contraction of our transit system. These things impact us daily.
And that's really what we're kind of seeing right now, is that is what is driving a lot of people to the polls too. So as the votes kind of come in, how should we interpret those numbers?
You know, they haven't come in as yet.
Right.
It's going to take a little while, but just depending on where the bulk of the votes came from, it'll take a little bit of analysis on the back end to take a look. But when I looked at some of the early voting, some of the inner city neighborhoods did vote at a high level. So I'm interested to see what happens there. I know there has been a lot of talk about what's going on in District 1. So that those neighborhoods are directly impacted by that. those things.
And so for us, is there any kind of misconceptions that you think that maybe people might have when it comes to like those early returns and early voting, stuff like that?
Not really. I mean, you could kind of take some data from them, but you really won't know until Election Day what happens. You know, we've got a lot of folks in the Midlands that work,
Right.
you know, just daily. So they're not off of work until 3 or 4, so they can't get to the polls until a little bit later.
And one thing that we do want to mention, that polls are obviously still open. It is currently 6:40 on the dot.
20 minutes.
So they still have 20 minutes. But again, as we've been mentioning, if you go right now and get to your polls, you can still vote. But I do want to ask you, for people, why is it so important to make sure to be patient, right?
It's your vote.
Yeah.
Your vote matters, and just be patient. You know, we live in a instant gratification type of society.
Yes, very true.
But just be patient with your vote, and watch as they come in. Watch the results, but more importantly, hold your elected officials accountable.
Yeah, as we wrap up this chat for tonight, let's talk about, I love what you were mentioning throughout our whole talk, is this does not end with tonight. No matter who becomes in office, it is now our duty to go and talk to them, right?
That's the beginning. It's the beginning of a 4-year term. So you've got 4 years to work with these individuals to make a difference in your immediate life. I challenge all of our viewers and listeners to get active. You should have exercised your right to vote, but what are you going to do tomorrow and moving forward to hold your elected officials accountable?
That's right, exactly. What are you going to do tomorrow? And you could have impacted it there today. Yes. Any final thoughts as we kind of wrap up with 20 minutes left here for voting? Again, the election results are not in just yet. Of course, the polls are still open. So, but kind of your final thoughts in this takeaway for the past, 24 hours.
Big for me, if you are in line, stay in line.
Yes.
But most importantly, be patient. And again, I just have to reiterate the fact that these elected officials work for you. As their constituent. So I want everybody under the sound of our voices to really get engaged. We've got a lot going on in D.C. That may, it's beginning to impact us now, but stay vigilant. Just stay engaged and make sure that your vote counts and matters, and that you hold your elected officials accountable for what they said they were going to do for the past couple months.
That's also very true. Make sure they are holding up their end of the bargain on in there. We appreciate you so much for coming in the past pretty much 24 hours, coming in and giving us your insight there. You have been such a treat, and we really do appreciate you. And again, I love what he's been mentioning this entire time. What is going to impact you at the kitchen table?
Exactly.
That's how you do it. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
For the past couple of times. We appreciate you. As always, we are going to put this interview on our website, WLTX.com. But stay with us. More of News 19 and on WLTX Plus. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Our election night coverage continues in Spartanburg. Voters heading to the polls to choose their next mayor. Taylor Farmer has the details.
Here in Spartanburg, we're at the C.C. Woodson Community Center, one of the many polling locations open across the area. Voters here are making a few key decisions, including choosing the next mayor. Running for mayor is incumbent Jerome Rice, seeking a second term. He's campaigning on consistency, saying the city needs steady leadership to keep growing responsibly. His opponent, James Jones, says Spartanburg needs a new direction, arguing that too many city decisions favor developers over everyday residents. Among those voting, Robert Reeder, who served on Spartanburg City Council for 16 years. The community center was actually built under his leadership.
You can't sit back at home and say, I should have did this and so should have got it. But if you don't come out and exercise your vote, you have no right to say anything because it's your fault that you didn't come out and vote.
These local elections are extremely important as the decisions made will directly affect voters and their communities. Reporting in Spartanburg, I'm Taylor Farmer.
All right, from Spartanburg now to Charlotte, where voters have been casting their ballots today. One of the most closely watched races is for the District 6 seat in Charlotte, a contest drawing some strong interest right now. Edwin Peacock is the councilman for District 6. He stepped in with Tark Rhymes, left to serve in the Trump administration. Tonight, his wife is hoping to keep that seat with the Republicans. And voters in that area have also been busy. Again, as we mentioned, District 6, but there's another seat there I believe we're going to be mentioning as well. It is District 3, the city council race, drawing a lot of attention. It will have a council person after Tawana Brown lost in the primary following federal charges. There are 3 candidates vying for that seat, a Democrat and Republican and an unaffiliated candidate. All 3 spent today at the poll, sharing why they believe they're the right choice to represent their community. And while
Joey Mayo, Republican James Bowers, and unaffiliated candidate Robin Emmons are all hoping to be the next District 3 representative.
And I hope to have your vote.
Mayo says she prioritizes improving community engagement in neighborhoods. She currently works hands-on with the Nations Ford and West Boulevard neighborhood organizations that focuses on alternative to violence programs.
Really to help people when they're already kind of in areas of getting involved with law enforcement negatively. So I think that's so important for us to have those wraparound services to help people before conflict begins and really people start reaching for guns.
James Bowers is the Republican candidate.
Money is available.
He's focusing on improving affordability for more home ownership and reducing lawlessness, especially among repeat offenders.
I was talking to some high school children. We don't even talk about the gang violence in the high schools. We've got to get to talk about those things again so that the entire community is safe, especially the children.
Robin Emmons is the unaffiliated candidate. She says her focus is on managing Charlotte's growth, but doing it responsibly in a way that respects both newcomers and longtime residents. She hopes voters will look past the 2 major political parties.
I think that we have been given a duopoly for a very long time, which is really not a real choice. I think when we have more options on the ballot with independent voices, which is really reflected of the diversity of our electorate, we open up the aperture of democracy for more voices to be heard.
And again, that is Charlotte. Now let's go to Atlanta. A judge has ordered polling locations to stay open an extra hour. Voters there say it's a welcome change.
Ben Linares is just learning poll locations in Atlanta will remain open an extra hour on Election Day, closing at 8 p.m. instead of 7.
Chances are it's for the best because a lot of people don't have time to run to the polls.
Linares is a healthcare worker in Atlanta. He agrees with the judge who sided with the city of Atlanta Monday, claiming a state mandate to close polls at 7 p.m. could prevent people like him from voting.
I was just walking from Edgewood, and the entrance to the freeway is still jam-packed at this hour.
It makes it feel that we are being heard.
Raheem Taylor, also a healthcare worker, says the extra hour is perfect for him and his co-workers.
I work for asthma clinic, so sometimes we do get out at 6:30, 7 o'clock. So we do it 9, 10, 11-hour shifts.
Even with the extra hour and dealing with Atlanta traffic, Linares is not going to chance a dash to the polls tomorrow night.
I'll actually have the opportunity to show up early in the polls tomorrow. The YMCA near my house will have the polls open. I'll be able to get in there even before, I even have to make the commute to work. But again, a lot of people don't have that luxury.
And again, that report in Atlanta was filed yesterday. Their polls are open for another 12 minutes. They close at 8 o'clock tonight. We also have some races in New York City, New Jersey, and Virginia we're watching. Erica Brown has details on that.
Zohran Mamdani, a self-proclaimed Democratic socialist, cast his ballot Tuesday, hoping to become the next mayor of New York City.
It is time now for a new day in our politics.
Mamdani is facing former Governor Andrew Cuomo, a Democrat running as an independent, and Republican Curtis Sliwa. President Trump is telling New Yorkers to back Cuomo, writing on social media, quote, "You really have no choice."
The president does not support me. The president opposes Zohran Mamdani.
In a tight race for New Jersey governor, voters are choosing between Democratic Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill and Republican Jack Ciattarelli.
It doesn't matter if it's national or local. Every decision that these politicians make affects at some point, trickles down to your own homes.
Here in Virginia, voters are also deciding on their next governor, another early test for both political parties and President Trump ahead of next year's midterm elections.
There's so many things at stake.
Former Democratic Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is facing off against Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears in Virginia's governor's race, with the government layoffs top of mind for some voters.
Especially as we head into the holiday season with people who are still out of work, I think we'll see something today.
President Trump encouraged Virginians to vote Republican, but he did not formally endorse Earl Sears, his party's candidate for governor. Erica Brown, CBS News, Alexandria, Virginia.
Again, we'll be following those races and more throughout the evening. We're going to take a quick break. We're back with some results in just a moment. We continue our election night coverage now. From fake voter signups to phishing texts, election scams are surging. One study finds more than half of Americans say they've been targeted as a voter, some losing thousands of dollars. We get more in this report.
Phony candidate calls and bogus ballots. As voters head to the polls Tuesday, cybersecurity experts warn election scams are on the rise.
Every time the phone rings, every time you get a text message, every time you get an email posing to be from any election commission, know that is fraud. Don't trust it.
In a cyber safety report released by Norton last year, more than half of Americans said they've been targeted by an election scam, many reporting losing money.
The scams are definitely becoming more prevalent and more sophisticated due to the use of artificial intelligence.
Some voters have also reported fake ballots in their mailboxes and scammers posing at voter registration booths. We spoke with a college student who fell victim to this, stopped by two men outside of a Target in Pittsburgh.
They saw my student ID around my neck and they're like, "Oh, you're a student, you're not registered." So they kind of like convinced me to get over, and they walked me through the paperwork. It was like a bunch of personal information. They had me give, obviously, my full name, my address. I gave the last four numbers of my social security.
Mississippi Secretary of State Mike Watson says it's a growing problem there, too.
The circuit clerk in a local county actually showed up to the voter registration drive. These folks never sent the forms in, but they were harvesting the information.
Watson says new voters should never have to give a social security number to register, and legitimate election offices won't call or text you for information.
New laws, including a ban on AI robocalls, haven't stopped scammers. The FTC reported consumers lost $12 billion to fraud in 2024, up 25% from last year. We did ask the FTC about election-specific scams, but they were unable to give us a breakdown due to the ongoing government shutdown. Evan Moon, CBS News, New York.
Well, let's talk local races now. Megan Dauchis is covering the race for Columbia mayor. She is joining us live with an update. Megan?
Yeah, right now I'm at Bourbon on Main Street, where Mayor Daniel Rickman is holding a watch party to see if he's going to be re-elected. We were over earlier at the Laurie Center, which was holding the polling location for Ward 1 and 10. And they released those results just before we left, and we saw in Ward 1 and Ward 10 that Daniel Rickman won by a good landslide on both of those wards. So we're going to continue to see these numbers coming in, see if he continues to, kind of win these other candidates out like that. Running alongside him are Jessica Thomas and Wade Fulmer. So we'll keep you updated. Daniel Rickman may be here soon, and we'll have more details in the future. Here at Bourbon, Megan Dauchis, News 19 WLTX.
All right, here we go. Let's see if we can get some totals for you now. This is live TV. We'll begin with the race for Columbia mayor. There are no totals to speak of in the race for Columbia mayor tonight. Let's see. Let's see. Let's go to Columbia District 1. I don't think we have any totals in the, no totals. All right, so I'm being told we don't have any totals at the moment. We're working to get numbers as the evening progresses, and of course, we'll be passing along the numbers to you both on air and online at WLTX.com. So be sure to stay with us throughout the evening. That's going to wrap up our coverage. We'll be back with updates as we get results.